At long last, For the King 2 is finally releasing later this week. If you're new to the franchise, For the King is a turbo difficult, grindy turn-based RPG where, rather than play the valiant heroes of the realm, you and your party are just a gaggle of derpy villagers in way over their heads. With over 230 hours of playtime across multiple platforms in the original For the King, and 100% achievement completion,
you could say my expectations are rather high for this sequel.
I got to dabble a little bit with the beta a few months ago, so I already know that there's a lot to be excited for in this new game. But here's 5 things that I'm really hoping to see in For the King 2. Number 1, difficulty. I want this game to be more than just hard. I want this game to be so hard it's fucking stupid. I want this game to be miserable for streamers like me that are trying to showcase the storyline. I want this game's difficulty to make me cry on camera. Why? Well, because the first game was really hard. See, the thing about For the King is you're not really supposed to beat the game, at least not on the first few tries. Every adventure, you'll slowly unlock more and more content that will aid the next group of adventurers, in hopes that they can get a little bit further in the game than your last attempt. This game really captures the essence of being a level 1 loser in an RPG. Trust me, there is nothing more hilarious than watching your team's scholar lose half their life because a level 1 dick puncher landed a lucky crit against them. The insane difficulty of these games make winning even the tiniest, most insignificant battles seem like the turning point of the campaign. The first game was so savage, and I really hope that this one ups the ante for those of us who love to punish ourselves with video games. Expectation number 2, polish. The first For the King was charming as hell. Its UI was so simple and easy to learn, even with minimal tutorials, which I love. From the small amount of the beta I got to play, I was somehow actually less impressed with the updated UI. I'll admit, maybe I'm stuck in the past and just want my game to feel a little bit more familiar, but as it stood in the beta, there's definitely some room for improvement. I'm a returning player, so I know what all the status effects from the first game that got carried over to the sequel mean, but I'm really hoping they just implement a simple way to learn the game's mechanics other than hopping on the Discord and adding the mods. They added a super dope new mechanic that lets you choose starting traits for your characters to help synergize with your class and try to get a solid lead on the early levels of the game. But without a way to examine what those traits or passives do until you're in the game swinging your sword at a dire bat, it's a little awkward to know what you're doing. But again, the beta seems like ages ago at this point, so hopefully this is just a wrinkle that's been ironed out so smooth-brained snobs like me can just focus on enjoying the gameplay. Speaking of gameplay, 4-player co-op! This is the big one, the change everyone longed for in the original. 4-player parties completely alter the core gameplay of this game. It means much larger fights where sometimes you'll find yourself up against 8+ enemies in a single combat. Or sometimes maybe you'll be competing in the ultimate race against the initiative to bring down a magma troll before he stomps half the tiles into a fine dust. Did I mention battle tiles? There's battle tiles now. You can now attack and reposition to different tiles to maximize an AoE attack, or hide from arrows behind your beefcake blacksmith shield, or even flee from some squares that have been consumed by harmful effects. It's so rad. This changes For the King from like a luck-based back and forth slap fight to a true tactical RPG. One of my favorite things about these games was the overworld map, where it's vital to stay close to the rest of the party members in the event of an ambush. But with a larger party, it'll encourage splitting off into teams to go explore all the stupid shit that you can't resist investigating. It sounds like they're giving new players more things to do and it's not their turn to keep things from getting too stale in a big party. I can't wait to load up this game with 3 friends and just descend into absolute chaos. Should make for a ton of hilarious stories. And speaking of stories, boy do I have a transition for you. I actually have some pretty high hopes for the storyline in this one. The first game kept things super shallow and never had any continuations across different campaigns. While I love the simplicity of it all, it would be cool to see the creators flex their storytelling muscles a little bit. I got a small glimpse of the size of this game when I saw how many potential campaigns there are, and god damn, this thing's gotta be like 5 times bigger than its predecessor. I'm curious to see if all the story arcs are gonna tie together in the end for a fun reveal. Maybe even open like a secret quest that could only be unlocked after you beat all the others on hard mode. Oh, there's definitely multiple difficulties by the way, so settle in for a rough time if you're a completionist. It's pretty cool to see a returning character come back as the main bad guy, and I hope they build it up as much as possible. I'm also really hoping we get to see some of the classic bosses, and a bunch of new crazy ones as well. Boss fights in this game are almost always the cause of a total party kill, so I have so much beef with some of these old characters. I want the final fight with the Queen to shave years off my life with how much stress it's going to cause me. And the best way to do that is to raise the stakes with some cool writing, so fingers crossed we get something juicy. Lastly, my fifth and highest thing I'm hoping for is some fun class variety. For the King 1 had 13 different classes to choose from after all the expansions were added up, and sadly it doesn't look like they'll all be reprising their roles in this one. They've kept the classes pretty hush-hush so far. We've only gotten a tiny sneak peek at them in a Book of Lore video, but we have seen a few in action. The Stable Boy for a speedy strength-based role, an Alchemist to showcase all their new explodey stuff, and a Pathfinder who hucks a bloody boomerang as their starting weapon. I'm kinda hoping this time around that the classes feel a little bit more defined. It would be awesome to see stuff like gear that works better if a certain class is wielding it. By the end of For the King 1, all the classes kind of melded together depending on the gear you found. I also know that you can select from a list of starting passives in this one, and as cool as it is, I do hope that it doesn't take away from the singularity of each class. I want it to feel really exciting when I unlock a new class, so that way I always go out of my way to rescue more adventurers, even if it means losing a teammate to an untimely dick punch. Well, there's 5 things that I'm hyped and hopeful about for the King 2. What are you looking forward to the most? Are you planning on picking up the game when it launches this week? If you're new to this title and want to see it in action before you pull the trigger, consider subscribing and tuning in for a live stream or two. The channel tries to focus on fun, multiplayer RPGs like this and Baldur's Gate 3, which we're still playing a ton of. Life is crazy, so it's important to try and make time to see your friends die in embarrassing ways every now and again. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stuff.